to The Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. Let's get on with the show. This is a bit of a jam-packed show today because of our favourite fan, Michael from Werribee South, who just gave me a call moments ago, interested with more questions about life and or Star Wars. But anyway, let's get into it. The news, views, reviews, interviews. First piece of news is that we had D23, which is a big Disney event on the calendar, sort of showcasing of what's coming up in the next year ahead, which is 2026. Number of movies coming out. You know, we've got Marvel's Avengers Doomsday, which is a big one. Toy Story 5, which is going to be another big one. And obviously Mandalorian and Grogu, in which I can tell you the news, in what I thought there was going to be a poster, maybe a teaser or trailer. Zero. The only thing that was played there was the exact same footage that was played at Star Wars in Japan, Star Wars Celebration in Japan of a couple of months ago. The exact same footage, nothing new, nothing more, nothing less. That's all it was. Great footage. Now, that to me is an indication of they're a bit stuck, Disney at the moment, or they're just really not wanting this to be a part of the Disney brand of D23, because a lot of backlash, unfortunately, has come from Star Wars being too Disney-fied, which I think, I don't think it has, but that's my humble opinion. But anyway, that's news. So pretty much D23 only showcased Mandalorian and Grogu, nothing from Starfighter, but they have played the same footage from Star Wars Japan 2025 from a couple of months ago, which is great footage. It's probably less like a trailer, more like a sort of a cut scene from the movie with a little bit of trailer sort of feel to it, but I don't think that will be the official trailer when they do release it, and they need to get something out there soon, as May 26th, Mandalorian and Grogu will be coming out. Anyway, to more news, The Acolyte, which is in the Star Wars timeline, the very first bit of storyline in the whole Star Wars storyline series, and they're coming out with an information magazine book, or whatever you want to call it, about the characters, the origins and stuff like that. Apparently, the main bad guy in this, which I can never remember his name, but he actually had a very cool mask and a red lightsaber, can you believe? Everyone was speculating, technically, he was a Sith Lord, but apparently he's not a Sith Lord. He is of another bad crew, which is the Knights of Ren, possibly the very first Knights of Ren. Knights of Ren appeared first in The Force Awakens Episode 7, which was a crew, very dirty, funky crew, if you ask me, very dark and twisted, and I thought they looked great, but never really eventuated in the story. They were part of the crew with Kylo Ren, sort of being sort of like a leader at that time in Star Wars, of the timeline on Star Wars Episode 7. But so this is for The Acolyte, a magazine and or a information book, whatever you want to call it, of the characters and origins and stuff like that. All the information will be coming out either very, very soon or is out now, I'm unsure, but look out for that. If you're an Acolyte fan, and Acolyte fans, there's not many of them, because it was one of the hated things in Star Wars. The fans just did not take to it. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was as bad as it made out to be, but yeah, anyway, that's the news. Let's get into views. This time around, I'm going to have no version of a story that I'd like to see, which is what views is about on this show. It's just my story idea as a view, but because of our interview section, which is quite large, because of a favourite fan of this channel, Michael from Werribee South has got many questions, so I'm going to miss out today with the views, which is probably not a big loss sometimes because it's good to sort of, not always have story ideas with Star Wars. Just let the story, guide you on its adventure, as we know, wherever it goes. Anyway, so let's get into reviews. Reviews this time around is amazing. This was back in the Star Wars saga of Rise of Skywalker, which was the last episodic or any type of film that we got at a cinema, which is the Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9. This was the drink container. Look at that. That's Kylo Ren's lightsaber as a drink container. Man, I was rocking the Kool-Aid with that one. That was great. That was actually the second time I saw it. I had to get the two lightsabers. The first one, because I'm a big advocate for the good side. As much as red and all that, is cool and color, I've got to be with the good side. And this is obviously the original lightsaber, Rey Skywalker, dare I say it, or let's say Luke Skywalker, that was passed down from Obi-Wan Kenobi way back in the episodes of Episode 4, even 3. This is another drinking container that I got for the Rise of Skywalker, as I saw it multiple times. That could be very scary for some people out there as well, seeing the Rise of Skywalker multiple times. If I told you how many times I saw it, you'd probably be mortified, but that's, for me to like and for you maybe to either like or dislike. But anyway, this was the drinking container. I was rocking the Kool-Aid with that one and this one. Man, it was a good time. Anyway, so that's my review, and they both get a 10 out of 10. I mean, I love when Star Wars merchandise gets really, has really creative ideas, just like that. One of the most other creative ideas, which I never got, but I've seen online, is delicious, is a freezer with Han Solo on the door, frozen in carbonite. It just makes sense. Frozen in carbonite, it's a freezer. It's just, I love it. Anyway, that's just an extended thought. Let's get now into interviews, because in interviews this time around, I have got Michael from Werribee South. He's a guy with many questions in life. Many questions in life. Werribee South is my question. Why would you live there? And if you knew where Werribee South is, which is in Melbourne, it's on the other side of the bridge, which is sort of saying something. And it's a hardened area. It's hard. Anyway, only the hard survive. Let's get into Michael from Werribee South's questions. He's got actually, when I looked at them first, the questions, I thought, oh my goodness, they are very simple questions, but it turns out to be actually pretty good. The first question I've got here that I can see is, Diz, go on vacation, until big news breaks, which is sort of true at the moment. Nothing of big news, and he is true, but anyway, I just thought I'd read that out. The next question from Michael in Werribee South that I can see is, will you do an Ice Age 6 review next year? Ice Age 6 actually was mentioned at the D23 event over this weekend. It's coming out in December next year. I definitely won't be doing a Ice Age 6. I can't even remember seeing Ice Age. If I did see it, I cannot remember the story. I know it was just a basic type of animation. I think it started off as a little short to the animation of the movie that was coming at the time, and then eventuated into movies. That's what I think where Ice Age came from, because I remember that there was one with a nut, and he was trying to crack the nut, and he couldn't crack the nut. This particular squirrel, I think it is, and it was quite funny. But I just didn't want to see it as a movie, or if I did see it as a movie, I cannot remember. But I will not be doing a review for Ice Age 6. Not right into it. I do like movies. I'd see it if I had absolutely nothing to do, but that's all I do. So let's get into his next question from Michael from Werribee South. And his next question is, are they making Star Wars Episode 10, 11, 12? It's not official, but I do believe it would be in development in some way or another. I have said many of a time that I think Starfighter, because it's coming out in 2020 and because Star Wars Celebration is coming out shortly before the actual release of Starfighter, I think they're going to announce it as Episode 10. And they're keeping it not revealed as Episode 10 because of the possible backlash from maybe fans, because, since Episode 10 would be here, it came from Episode 9, then the speculation of which returning characters would come back, and it would just be a mess. So I think they're just keeping it well guarded secret. But for me, if it's Episode 10 or not, it's not. Yes or no. But there's no official word on 10, 11, 12. Episodes 10, 11, 12 as yet. Let's get into Michael's next question. What is Starfighter going to be about? Well, that's a very good question because no one knows. All we know now, it's going to be it's going to be Ryan Gosling is going to be, I suppose, the Starfighter, and it's going to be sort of like a Top Gun film, like Tom Cruise's Top Gun. That's all we know about this story, besides who certain characters are going to be in this film, like Amy Adams, who was just announced a couple days ago, is apparently the mother of the small child that is pictured in the first set photo with Ryan Gosling. If you look that up, it's a black and white photo. But that's, pretty much it. It's going to be sort of like a Top Gun movie, is all we know at the moment. The next question from Michael from Werribee South is, that was the last question. What does 1313 mean in Star Wars? Well, I think he's got it actually wrong, because if it was 1138 that he was referring to, that code came from a movie of THX 1138, which is George Lucas' film, I think just before Star Wars, before he went in development of the original Star Wars. It was a very abstract, arty, sci-fi type film, really intensely abstract and arty and sci-fi, but that 1138 code that's been used a number of times in these other movies is just as sort of a reference in an artistic way from George Lucas in his films. Anyway, so that's to answer that question, which I'm thinking that Michael has got the actual code wrong. 1313 was meant to be 1138. What does that mean in Star Wars? Anyway, the next question is, what does Order 69 mean in Star Wars? Now, I thought he was actually referring to Order 66, which any Star Wars hardcore fan would know what that is. It took place in Episode 3, Order 66. But what is 69? As weird as that number is, it's actually where it's actually a thing. I don't know if it's a canon or not, but it's actually where stormtroopers were looking for wives that were Jedi, female. And the order was Order 69. Stormtroopers that were looking for wives, they had to be Jedi for some reason, and they called that Order 69. I think that's canon, but I'm unsure. But that's what Order 69 means, which I did not know until this point in time. Because really, if it's not in the movies for me, it's not really official. I'm just like that. Anyway, so the next question from Michael in Werribee South is, why is Form 7 banned in Star Wars? Now, Form 7, I thought this was a weird question. I did not know what this was, but this was apparently a thing that's created story-wise, that a Jedi would become wild and crazy and use almost anger elements in his fighting. So it's actually a thing. Form 7 was banned by Star Wars, technically by the Jedi, because it was having their Jedi become angry, and anger we all know, leads to the dark side. So actually, a question I thought was a bit muddled up by Michael from Werribee South is actually a good question. That's the answer. So let's have a look at his next question, Michael from Werribee South. What is happening with the 2026 movie that is delayed or cancelled in replacement of Ice Age 6? So next year, Ice Age 6 was meant to be coming out in December. I looked this up, and it was actually the Rey film. Rey is a character, which is the main female from episode 7, 8, 9, who pronounced herself at the end of episode 9 as Rey Skywalker. Whether you like that or not, that's what it is. And there was talks of having a Rey movie coming out in December. So that was, look, it's not actually official, cancelled or delayed. It's just been put on hiatus. Because of the backlash of Rise of Skywalker episode 9, she was the front and center of that film. And I think for too many hardcore Star Wars fans, the backlash reignited when the thought or the idea of a Rey movie was coming out. And I think, from what I understand, Star Wars, Disney, Lucasfilm retracted the whole possibility of that film coming out. So it was replaced by Ice Age 6. So technically next year we were meant to get 2 films, but we only have 1 film, which is The Mandalorian and Grogu. Anyway, so that's the answer to that question. The last question from Michael from Werribee South is actually a very good question. He asks, in Star Wars, why don't they bleed? It's actually a reason that George Lucas back in the day chose not to show blood in the film because of keeping a PG, what we know in Australia, a PG rating. To keep it within, so kids can go watch it. If he revealed blood shed, it would increase the rating, so then kids wouldn't be able to see it. And as he directed these films for kids, especially the age of 12 or 13, he just decided not to show blood in the films because it would cause a rating to be higher, so that kids wouldn't be able to see it. It would have to go with an accompanying adult. Now, that might be easy enough, but when some or all adults don't really want to see it, and especially multiple times, Star Wars, and kids will go and see it, he thought, well, let's create it so this kids can just decide themselves to go and see it. So that's why you never see blood. But the closest time we got to blood, which I'm surprised, and it was actually rated as a higher ranking to get in to see that film, which was Revenge of the Sith, episode 3. It was because there was a bit of gore in it. It was ranked a bit higher than PG. It's probably, I think, the only Star Wars film that's ever got that higher ranking. Anyway, so they are the questions. That is my interview. That is an amazing amount of questions from Michael from Werribee South. He's the character of this show that doesn't appear, but maybe one day. Anyway, until next time, my friends, keep rocking.